be the next input. Up here are where we set the output. So what I did is I set the very first output to be my Elgato capture card. So now it's sending anything that's sending to that output to my streaming PC through the HDMI cable over into the capture card. And I have both of these two inputs sending to it because I have A1 selected, which sends it over to A1. I've got A2 selected as my headphones here, audio coming through the microphone back to my headphones. But you can see I don't actually have the microphone sending to A2, I only have the system audio, my PC sending to A2, because my microphone, just by default, I can already hear the microphone directly monitoring back to my headphones. If I click A2 here, I'm gonna hear my voice twice, which I do actually. When I click that, I hear it twice. So you don't need to resend your voice back to your headphones. You only need to send your game audio back to your headphones. So now what this has done is this has routed my mic and my game sound over to the streaming PC, and it's routed the game sound back to my headphones. And you can see that it's working because in OBS on the streaming PC over here, you can see that it's picking up audio from my voice. And when we play this beautiful music, you can see it picks that up too. The last thing you can do if you do want to add a little bit more I/O, a little bit more versatility to a mic like this, is you can pick up for $130 an Astro mix amp and attach something like this to it. You can see it's going to add in quite a bit of I/O that's going to help you out here. So you have versatility, go direct, 0.5 inch phone going this basically. Talk about this all next stream in the beginning of the stream. So link to my stream down below. Also jump into the Discord. We have an amazing community of like 30,000 people in there right now. All people who are setting up streams and looking for ways to make their stuff look and sound better. Find someone to collaborate with there. I'm sure there are people in there that have answers to your questions that I may have missed. Also, you can always tweet at me or hit me up on the You guys know how social media works. I hope this was as helpful as I could make it out to be. I really did my best, you guys. And as always, happy streaming.
Can you imagine you with that one drunk friend in your life?
Powering through these. Our Mini doesn't actually have the de-esser. If you have it, I'm sure you know this. You're wondering where. Don't worry too. Maybe you find a song that you want to share with your teammates over Discord. You find the music column in the routing table, see where it lines up with the chat outputs, and check that box. And now your teammate can hear the song. Also, one of the common questions I get is, I don't like hearing my own voice in my headset. What do I do? Well, you go to your microphone and see where it lines up with headset. Uncheck that box. You don't hear your headset anymore. Are you following me? Are you getting how the routing table works and realizing that it's actually really simple and actually kind of cool? No other audio device has something like this, and it's amazing. The last thing we're gonna do in step 3 is go back to our mixer tab, and you're gonna notice on the left side, you get to control exactly which sound inputs are assigned to faders. So for example, I moved my system fader to fader number 2, and then I actually set my headphone volume to number 4 because I found myself adjusting that much more than adjusting the music volume. And if I wanted to adjust the music volume, I could just open up the app, go to the mixer fader, and manually do it in the software. Not a big deal. Dope. Your stream sounds fantastic. Save it. Remember that box in the top left corner I mentioned? Click the floppy disk button. If you don't know what a floppy disk is because you're not a boomer, it looks like this. Click on it. You're welcome. All right, I don't want this video to go too long, so I'm gonna go over some of the fun stuff, and then we're gonna go into some of my favorite tips and tricks that allow me to go even further beyond. I don't want to spend too much time on the voice changer and the sound samplers. They're fun. Mess around with it. Mess around with these knobs. Find a sound that you like. You have 6 banks for you to save voices for later that you can use whenever you want. And on the sampler, you have 4 different sample pads as well as 3 different banks that switch what those 4 sample pads do. So you have 12 samples you can switch back and forth between. And creating a sample is crazy easy. You click and hold. While you're holding, you say something into the microphone. When you're done, you let go. And then when you hit the button, it repeats what you said. You can even trim it up later in the editor if you added a little too much silence in the beginning of your sample and you want it to start right on time. You can choose what a second press of the button does. So if you want it to start and then you hit it again and it stops it, or you want it to fade out, or you want to just, and when you're done with the sample, you want to open up the bank to record something else, hit the clear button, hit the sample, and it's all clear. You can also, by the way, load sounds from your computer into your sampler using the top left box of the app, but there is an easier way, and when I get to my little magic tips and tricks at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you how to do that. We also haven't talked about RGB yet, which, by the way, whole board is RGB. Mess around with it, have some fun. You can even set these faders to be gradients, which is kind of nice. One thing I like to do, by the way, is set my faders to metering so I can see how loud any source is getting. That way, if I hear a song playing and I don't know if it's coming from Spotify or YouTube, I can look down at the meter and see which one's making noise, and it lets me know. Dope. I think it's finally time that we go over 9,000. First, how do you use a wireless headset with this thing? Because, by the way, you can, and I do on stream. You're gonna need a very specific kind of wireless headset. If it's one that just has a little USB dongle, it's not gonna work. You're gonna need something with a base station that has a line in or an aux in. For example, I use the SteelSeries Arctis Pro because they connect to a little base station, and on the back of it, there's a line in jack. So you go out of the headphone jack on here, into the line in on your base station or mix amp, whatever you want to call it, and then that broadcasts the signal to your headsets. Another one that works, by the way, is the Astro A50s because that has an aux in on the back. And as far as I know, those are the only two wireless headsets that will work. If you know of another one that has any kind of line in, let me know. One of my favorite secret functions of it, secret functions of this thing is we'll call it the magic mute button, okay? You've seen these mute buttons. You click the microphone mute button, microphone fader slides down, nobody can hear your voice anymore. You click it again, fader slides back up to where it was before. Really fancy. But if you go into the mixer tab in the software, you'll notice there's a mute to function in there. So, for example, I take my microphone, which I have set to fader number 1, and I say, instead of mute to all, I change that to mute to chat. So now when I tap, though, is if you tap and hold for about 2 seconds, it turns into the original mute to all function again. And the fader slides down, nobody can hear me, the microphone's entirely muted. So these mute buttons have 2 different functions if you want them to. You can mute it to one specific output, and then holding it mutes it to all outputs. Very, very useful function for streaming. Remember when I told you earlier that you can load PC sounds into the sampler? So maybe you want to be able to use like or you want to use that anime, and you want to do it with one of your sampler things here. What you're going to do is you're going to go into that routing table, you're going to find system, and just temporarily, you're going to check the box that goes out to sampler. What this means is that the sampler is not only going to pick up your voice, it's also going to pick up your PC. So you find the sound, for example, on YouTube, where it's probably going to be the easiest to find. And when you click play, you hold down the sampler button. It's going to record it from your computer and let go. And now you can use it whenever you want. In my opinion, way easier than downloading a file, saving it somewhere, trying to find it in the app and loading it into a button. Just do it this way. Okay, I've got 2 more for you. Do you remember that game fader?
to adjust your mic levels and settings, and we'll get to that later in the video, but for right now, if you think it's annoying, just go ahead and uncheck it. Next thing we need to do is go into the sound settings on both of your PCs and set the input and output devices. So let's talk about the inputs first. On your streaming PC, the input should be set to line in. This is because of that audio cable that we have running to the line in of the mother.
We'll see. It could very like it's actually kind of what I'm holding out. I think next time, so when they actually do release the Steam box, I'll see what they've cooked with the official PC version of SteamOS. But Apple fucked up the RAM thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it really comes down to whether mobile devices are competing for the same top-end RAM. Because I think this is the main issue that's happening with the reason why the squeeze is going to be so hard on GPUs and like enthusiast grade RAM is because that's the stuff that the AI servers want. But there may be some room for certain fabricators to continue making mid-grade RAM. And if the phones happen to use those components, which I'm gonna say doubt.
Tears of the Kingdom, found my local band, and well, I accidentally spent it running around playing with the virtual position of my speakers. I only had a headset while I was testing this, but it was already very immersive. Plugged into a PlayStation. What do you mean plugged in directly into OBS? Which means their audio needs to be controlled by OBS and often monitored by OBS. And if you're using a mixer like the Go XLR, which most of my streamer friends are, then that means the game audio bypasses it, meaning you can't control your console audio with your mixer despite spending thousands of dollars to control your audio at an arm's reach. But not anymore. The Bridgecast X has clean, zero delay, no latency, full 4K pass-through game capture that can either send directly to OBS or send to OBS and a TV or monitor so you can continue playing on a big screen. I'll put a link in the description for the full spec sheet because I know there are a lot of video nerds out there who care, but for everyone else, let me break down how this works. On the back of the BGCX, that's what I'm calling it now because it sounds way cooler, it has 3 HDMI ports, 2 for input and 1 for output. Plug your console or camera into the HDMI inputs and then use the HDMI in button to select which input you want to send to OBS. Press the USB out button and congratulations, you have your camera or console directly in OBS. So what, LJ? That's just a capture card, right? Why does this matter? Wrong, my little lemon drop. Because now while gaming away, you can reach over and happily change the volume, mute, or generally do whatever you want to your audio coming from your console because it is integrated into your mixer, meaning no more capture card mess around. I've been testing this since it arrived on my doorstep early January, and again, I have had zero delay on video or audio playback, zero hassles, and I've been another USB slot on my PC, which I need because let's show you how to split understand the next two. Currently has no audio, works for a beginner, but it does suck because your music, your game, your disc. Now if I go to my advanced audio, if you want your stream to hear something, add it to track 1. You can leave this as default, but if you did want to change the default stream track for whatever reason, you go to settings, output, switch to advanced streaming, and you can change it here. But now that you've switched to advanced, you would need to fix all your other settings. So if you're using simple, let's just stick to simple. While we're in these settings, however, if you scroll down a bit, you'll see recording. I want you to make sure all 6 tracks are ticked. Any track that isn't ticked won't appear in the final recording. If you use advanced, click the recording tab and you'll see something very similar very easily. If you can't change these audio track boxes, it means your recording format or quality doesn't support multi-track. I recommend using MKV if you know how to remix, or if you don't, use fragmented MP4. If it still doesn't work after changing that, then you'll need to change your quality so that it doesn't say same as stream. These 2 file types that I told you to use are crash proof essentially, so if OBS closes unexpectedly or your PC shuts off randomly, they won't corrupt your footage. It'll just stop where it's at. With that done, we head back to and untick everything except of course our stream track, aka track 1, and then we're going to add our mic back in by clicking track 2 and desktop to track 3. Not just going to stream on track 1, but it's also isolated in the recording on track 2. All desktop audio
for for that hardware
are going to the stream track.
right, like that's going to be the trick that Valve does, is can they get the vendors to
audio tracks in OBS. With that, now let's use the new
or if their emulation is good enough.
remove everything again and adjust my microphone back, and then I'm going to add a new source.
Because that's the thing with Vulkan, is you can have application-specific drivers and not just system-level drivers.
As I play my lo-fi, it moves, and if I pause, it stops. Now I can control my
And then most of the stuff is there's this DX to Vulkan layer, which is interesting.
And taking it further, if I go to advanced audio properties, find the correct source, I can set it to track 1, so all of my stream audio, but I'll also select another single track to isolate it for recording. Now, let's add our game.
Oh, what the fuck?
I'm going to open Stardew Valley. Now that I have it open, I'm going to add an audio app capture. I'll select Stardew from the dropdown, and if you look, it's now appearing in the levels, and it's on its own source. Again, go to advanced audio properties, send it to stream, of course, but also select another track with nothing else on it so it's isolated. We'll do this exact same process again for Discord, and now as you can see we have 4 audio sources: game, Discord, music or Chrome, and most important, switch games, you would need to edit this app capture. Easy solution, which I'll cover in a second. Second problem, these are specific sources inside a specific scene, meaning if you want an audio source to be streamed or recorded in another scene, these captures need to be
Fuck are these? Also, not really sure how they expect me to get through that fucking room while the dude just sat there and stared at the fucking access point to the next room. Very cool. I wasn't even in the fucking cone. What the fuck is this shit, dude? Yes. I don't even like this moveset is nothing I'm familiar This is where I came in. There's a switchback. What's going on? Did it glitch out and not let me progress or something? Oh, through here, okay. That is very clear for the entire time. What was that? Okay, I guess I'm just fighting all of them. I mean, now that I can, there's a lot of enemies. Okay, put me back in stealth. Dude, these fucking telegraphs are just not correct for like half these fucking abilities.